Well, I was getting better in the lab, but... Why is it so hard to write on bones? Cursing mentally, I cleaned the dip pen and then scratched its nib into the bone to remove the blotch. Careful, don't damage the bone. Ugh. I let out a defeated sigh and scratched my head. Oh, maybe I could have Rosemary demonstrate for me again? It's just writing some letters and numbers, though. Why am I struggling so much with the final step? Poor Shoji. Maybe I need to angle the pen more? He looks like he wants to say something. I did this last time. Did you need something, Shoji? No. It's nothing. He hunched over his tools again, leaving me confused. Okay. I got no help with my tooth writing. Oh, poor Shoji. Oh no, poor me. Come on, oh come on, girls! Don't do this to me. You're killing me. At least the internet worked out. Ow. Finished. I placed the final cleaned item, already inked and recorded, into the cup. The tray was now full, and every glued cup had a finding displayed. I stood up and slid the tray toward me. It was not heavy, but it was wide and awkward to hold. Oh my! Hendrik, gosh darn it with you, and always making me, like, drop my can't speak! My jaw dropped again! First it was your hair out of a ponytail, now you got glasses? My heart. Why are you doing this to me, Hendrik? Gosh, now I can't look at you again. Okay. I'm just looking at the words here. I made my way inside the laboratory, where the table was already stacked with a bunch of finished trays. I carefully set mine down and glanced at Hendrik, who was also documenting findings from a fiche. Usually, Hendrik would be working alongside the students, cleaning the recent finds. What's this? Something different about these bags? It looks so weird with him with glasses, my goodness. Oh, not really. They're finding students excavated a few years ago that haven't been looked at yet. Ugh, curse you. He picked up the paper and held it close to his face, squinting in frustration as he tried to decipher the writing. Par? Mentor? Martlin? Nantar? I approached him and leaned over his shoulder. Maybe it was due to my own sloppy handwriting, but I identified the letters with relative success. Parmentier? It's Parmentier. Thank you. Curse your chicken scratch, Parmentier. This is a pain to get through. I was amused by Hendrik's complaint. Setting the paper down, Hendrik unwrapped the tinfoil. Here for something? No, I was delivering the tray. I'll get out of your hair now. Oh, wait, can I ask a quick question? Sure, what is it? Are you getting along with Kyler? Oh, and does this one look like a 1 or 7 to you? He flashed the little piece of paper that came with the item. Definitely 1. As for Kyler... I guess we're getting along okay? We didn't get off on the right foot the first day. He barely uttered a word to me. Hendrik nodded as if he had been there himself, and I continued. However, he helps me with archaeology whenever I'm stuck. Like the soil test. He even talked about himself a tad. I made him laugh once. He never laughs. He's like, what? Overall, he kinda opened up a bit to me. But not much. Why do you ask? It's just... I was wondering if working beside someone helped. Oh. The first year, Kyler dug in a higher location, and he was surrounded by more students. However, he kept his distance and barely spoke to any of them. After that, he mainly worked in the lower levels, completely isolated. This year, we thought maybe it'd be better to have Kyler excavating beside someone, that it might encourage interaction without overwhelming him. We admire his concentration, but there's more to archaeology than what you're digging directly in front of you. It sounds like there's been some progress, at least.
He grinned happily, only to frown when he tried to read the writing on another bone. Seeing his confusion, I leaned in once again. It's 1-136-2013. Wasting no time, Hendrik added the numbers to the tiny paper slip.
Thanks again.
Still, it's sweet of you to be concerned about Kyler.
I'm concerned about all of my students. If they work here, they're under my care.
Is he even aware of it?
He thinks I'm either pestering him or questioning his abilities when I try to offer assistance. Sometimes I ask if he has any inquiries or try to add my own tips and suggestions, but he shuts it down. I wish there was another way.
I don't want to suggest making Kyler part of the main excavation team, because that's... I mean, I'm just a student here. I have no say in that at all. I mean, Kyler would absolutely love that, but maybe he's not ready. I'm not sure. But, I mean, they can definitely give him a new opportunity. Maybe. You try to help him whenever he's digging or working in the lab, right?
Of course.
What if you ask him to do something different? Something out of the norm?
Not kitchen duty, I hope.
No, that'd make it worse. Like, you do other things, right? You mentioned that sometimes people or school groups visit. Maybe he can help organize that.
Helena already covers that, though, being the receptionist and all.
I'm grasping at straws. I'm sorry, I haven't been helpful.
Oh, don't worry so much. You still bring up a good point. Until now, I've only tried to help him with the tasks he's already confident in. I need to think of another angle. It'd be ideal if we could get along, since our paths will likely cross again in the future.
I'm certain you'll figure something out. Good luck with it.
Thanks. Oh.
Yes? He pleadingly held up the document.
Does this look like a backwards Q or a bizarre D?
D. Would it be easier if I stayed? Hendrik brightened at my suggestion and gestured to the chair beside him.
If it's not too much trouble. I've been chiseling away at these illegible reports for hours now. Thanks, Melissa.
The chair scraped along the tiles as I positioned myself next to him. Our shoulders grazed against each other as he reached for another tinfoil bundle and passed it to me. We spent the rest of the day deciphering Parmentier's fiche. I wanted to ask why Kyler was stubborn when it came to Hendrik, but I knew Hendrik prioritized work first. Maybe another time. Man, Melissa's just grazing shoulders with everybody this time around. Shoji, Hendrik. Oh, poor Kyler still doesn't get no love, though. Ow! I wonder if this leads into the whole, him signing when the students come to visit. The first time I played through, I guess Hendrik thought of it himself, but maybe I kind of nudged it a little in that direction this time? I'll see. Anyway.
Which makes mica and slate excellent examples of cleavage.
Right. DeAndre rubbed the side of his head as his eyes darted from rock to rock in the tray. The entire table was covered with examples from Hendrik's collection. Ah, so that's what kept them. I guess DeAndre asked a question while he helped Hendrik carry the trays in. Gripping my own tray, I carefully placed it on top of the stack.
You can peel the mica apart like a deck of cards. In geology, cleavage is used to identify overturned beds based on the dipping.
Okay, now I really need to know. How can you say stuff like this with a straight face?
What do you mean?
Never mind. Continue with the cleavage.
Right. Once we're finished, we'll go over luster and hardness. Anyway, there's two types of cleavage. Continuous and disjunctive cleavage. Continuous is when...
The door swung open, interrupting the lecture. Rosemary took a small step inside and motioned with her hand. Helena wants to talk to you about something. It's regarding the upcoming class trip.
Oh, then I'll be right there. You two can head back outside. This will take a while.
The two exited, and DeAndre fiddled with the flaky mica before setting it down. How did that whole conversation start?
All I did was ask what rock this was. Then he lit up like a Christmas tree, and before I knew it...
I'll ask this one this time. Have you been buried in a landslide of jokes yet?
Ugh, I'm getting out of here before these geology puns hit rock bottom.
Aw, don't be like that, DeAndre. He then zeroed in on a rock, tapping the piece of paper glued to the bottom of the tray, and shook his head.
Mel, there's a mineral called coming tonight.
Oh no, we're not going there.
But seriously.
Banning dirty puns, okay? You banned my rock puns, I'm banning your dirty puns.
Think of the jokes.
Good night, everybody. Peace, I'm out. Forever. Should I stay with Joan and Chantel this weekend? Why is this even still a question? Let's go. After I put my dishes away, I trooped to the bedroom to grab my gym clothes. Now that I was familiar with Liege, I thought of going for a jog around the city square. Chantel was away for family errands, and Joan was occupied with her music practice. She sat on the bed with her music stand in front. Her fingers fluttered over the flute, but she paused when she saw me. Sorry, didn't mean to disturb you. Why so early? Why? With Chantel not around, she felt vulnerable, and I saw her eyes darting for a translation. Why do you practice music this early? I pointed to the clock and then mimicked someone yawning and stretching like they just woke up. After that, I positioned my hands similar to hers holding the flute. She giggled at my performance and carefully selected her words. Owner's gone. I can practice early. Right, this building isn't soundproof. Must be hard to practice when everyone lives so close together. You leaving? Actually, I sat down on the bed and brushed my hair behind my ears. I'd like to listen. You play very well. She blushed heavily. Closing her knees together, she rested her flute on her lap. Thank you. I want to teach music. Did my presence make her that nervous? Maybe she'll feel better if I close your eyes and listen, or ask to try out the flute. Can I? Let's see. Yeah, because she wants to teach. Joan, can you teach me? Oh! Wow, she got so excited. She nodded enthusiastically and shuffled closer, her knees angled toward me. Her exuberance was contagious as she offered the instrument. She relaxed her lips and made a little O with them. Like this. She manipulated the flute in my hands, her dainty fingers working until its mouthpiece was parallel to my lips, hovering just out of reach. I'm not supposed to touch it with my lips like a recorder, right? Oh my! The look of determination! Confused, I let out a hard puff like I was a kid blowing out a birthday cake. A sharp pitch followed, causing Joan to wince. Joan wasn't deterred and gently pulled the flute into her possession. Mistake. Try... She separated the top from its body, leaving only the head joint. Once she handed it back to me, she tapped her bottom lip. Embouchure, close, low. Her struggle to articulate, coupled with her passion, left her in a state of half frustration and determination. She wanted to succeed with her first little lesson, and her eyes lit up as I carefully followed her instruction. So, here? Oh, so cute! I placed the hole a little lower this time instead of perfectly aligned between my lips. She nodded eagerly, then blew out a stream of air. Like this. Softer, please. I exhaled through my nose as I suppressed a chuckle. Fortunately, thanks to her guidance, I was able to make a weak but musical tone this time. Joan clapped, gaining a bit more confidence while I played around with my breathing. The note unexpected shifted up and down like a sliding whistle, and I realized Joan changed the pitch by inserting her pinky finger into the end of the flute. Still smiling, I handed the piece back and she reassembled her instrument. Thanks for showing me. You'll be a great teacher one day. I hope so. It's easier to teach French students. Yes, I'm sure. If you could teach an English person that much, I'm sure you'll do wonderfully with French students. Oh, Melissa, you're doing so well this time. Alright, well, I'll get rid of that and do another socialize. Relationships. Oh, we got half a heart with shoji somehow. Well, 2/3 of one. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hearts. Stats. Okay. Let's play. I feel like the weeks are going by so quickly this time. My fingers fumbled as I tried to line up the ruler, constantly making adjustments until I was happy. While I was doing that, Augustin shouted something, mentioning Kyler's name. I glanced to the left, but Kyler gave no indication that he heard it. I tapped Kyler's shoulder and he jolted upright. Despite being startled, his reactions had lessened somewhat since he had gotten used to me grabbing his attention. He switched his implant on. I tilted my head upward and he followed my gaze. After the two exchanged words, Kyler set his trowel down. What was that about?
There's a school group coming, and Hendrik has asked me to assist him.
Oh, you're good with kids?
Not particularly. I rarely interact with children.
I'm sure you'll do fine. Hendrik did ask you, after all. He was puzzled by my support, but gave a simple nod. After cleaning up his excavation space, he climbed the ladder, leaving me alone in the square hole. I continued my work until I heard footsteps and the chatter of voices echoing through the cave. Hendrik led a middle-aged teacher and roughly 20 elementary students onto the catwalk, forming a long line. Many of the kids clambered to the railing, poking their heads above or between the bars. They pointed excitedly at all the archaeologists at work, or pretending to dig. It wasn't until I craned my head up that I spotted Kyler near the back. While Hendrik gestured to the roof of the cave, Kyler made fluid motions and signs whenever he spoke. Aw, the kids must have been curious about him. Slowly, the restless conga inched deeper, but Hendrik stopped where the railing ended. Even in French, I could tell he and the teacher gave stern safety instructions before they reverted into their "learning is fun" voices. During the lecture, Hendrik would pause to address any raised hands. The tour was too distracting for me to focus on work, and I observed the class instead. Hendrik gestured to some of the archaeologists, including DeAndre.
Salut, je m'appelle DeAndre. J'ai cru pour
The kids laughed and shouted something to DeAndre, who pretended to be surprised. Once the excitement died down, Hendrik glanced in my direction.
Hey Melissa, we mentioned we had archaeologists from around the world working here. Say hi for us.
Smiling widely, I waved and stood on my tiptoes to give them a better view of me. Bonjour, je ne parle pas français. I'm from America. There was a chorus of laughter, probably from my silly voice and terrible accent. Hendrik nodded happily and returned to the students. Oh my, such people. While Hendrik mentioned Neanderthals, I saw DeAndre creeping behind Shoji Square, which was out of view to most of the students. He watched the group, as if waiting for the perfect cue to strike. What's that idiot planning? So harsh. Before Hendrik could finish his sentence, there was a loud roar, followed by heavy stomping. DeAndre emerged on the catwalk, lunging in a wide stance with arms raised above his head. The kids squealed happily in a mix of surprise and pretend fear, while Hendrik watched in bewilderment. Kyler straightened himself up, not impressed with DeAndre's antics. He unleashed a stern line of words before pointing at DeAndre accusingly.
Neanderthal. Quoi?
The children erupted into laughter, and even Hendrik doubled over, one hand clutching his stomach as he leaned against the railing. It was DeAndre's turn to be confused, and the two started their rapid-fire banter. The teacher tried to calm everyone down since Hendrik was unable to speak. Finally, Hendrik recovered, still chuckling between breaths, and motioned for the class to exit the cave. The teacher repeated Hendrik's instructions, and the children slowly filed out, this time led by Kyler. Before they completely vanished, Hendrik said something to DeAndre. DeAndre was startled, but followed Hendrik, leaving us alone in a silent cave. Well, almost silent. Many of the students chuckled, murmuring softly as they spoke about the events that occurred. The buzz was over, and I inserted my earbuds, preparing to excavate seriously. Still, that was rather entertaining. It seemed like everyone involved with the tour was having fun, including, dare I say, Kyler too? An hour later, Kyler returned and resumed his excavation. My curiosity won over, and I patted him on the shoulder.
Yes.
Sorry, was wondering how it went. How did the rest of the tour go?
It went really well, even with DeAndre's antics. He's good with kids, probably because he's childish himself and kept them entertained.
This year has been a truly interesting experience.
Oh, in what way?
I've been talking to the other students more. First you, Shoji, even DeAndre. I never expected Hendrik to ask me to help out with the tour either. It's a bit overwhelming at times. I'm not used to socializing, but I don't mind it.
Even so, I think you've been doing a good job. I'm not great at explaining things, but you seem more relaxed than when we first met.
It's something I have to work on, but thank you.
Feeling our conversation die down, we returned to our tasks. He was still as diligent as ever. I'm glad he opened up a little during this excavation. Ah, sweet Kyler. Looking forward to your route next. Oh, Melissa. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Oh, we're gonna do the s'mores. I laid out the s'more ingredients and then handed Chantel and Joan a carved stick each. Chantel reached into the bag and pulled out a jumbo-sized marshmallow. So we roast these? Yep, you place it on the stick and then roast them until they're golden brown. Don't stick it straight into the fire unless you want it charred. It doesn't taste good, trust me. While the two roasted them, I broke up the chocolate into smaller pieces. I popped one into my mouth for strict test tasting purposes. Belgian chocolate is really the best. Oh no! Joan removed the stick from the fire, her marshmallow engulfed in flames. That was too long, Joan. Chantel blurted something in French, and Joan shook the stick in an attempt to extinguish the flames. Wait, don't or it'll fling... That marshmallow went far. What did it hit? Or who did it hit? Joan peeked around the corner of the building, then grimaced. No! I'm like, it's probably Kyler, because everything happens to Kyler. Oh! Kyler? Oh, him. Quick, let's hide before he finds out it was... Ah! Oh. Run for it! Before he kills us. Kyler, we just wanted to make s'mores, I swear. Oh my goodness. Ridiculous. What? Kyler's in the lab? What a rare sight. If you have any questions or need...
I can't focus with you hanging over my shoulder.
Fine, I'll let you be. So lang my leg. Oh. Rosemary wandered over to my table. Don't get along? Not my fault. I'm charming and lovable, and he's... Ugh, can't explain it. It feels like I'm talking to a wall. Or a square. A square? It's a running joke in dance that we call boring, stuffy people squares, since they don't think outside of the box and all. A square? That suits him perfectly. He never looks beyond the square. He digs that. Still, I wish he'd seek my help more. It's bad enough he ignores Hendrik. Augustin is brilliant and contributed to both archaeology and microstratigraphy, but he's just one mind, one man. We all have our own ways of doing and teaching, and it's good to widen that horizon.
I don't mind it so much. Augustin and I butt heads less when a student sticks to their preferred teacher.
Are you referring to the flint incident? The burrow incident? The stalagmite incident?
This is why I'm in the lab during the summer.
That sounds like a whole other topic. Pretty much. Bottom line is, Kyler and I hardly speak to each other, and he never asked for my help.
That's because he planted napped flint in his wet screen.
Oh, that was good.
Twice.
I thought he'd find it funnier the second time.
You act like there was a first.
He's gonna struggle when he gets into the real world. As skilled as he is, no one will take notice if he doesn't network. I see. Rosemary is trying to help him in her own way. He's also fun to tease. He does have that face that screams, "Please bully me." Or not.
but I can see what she means. I'll be honest. Oh man. Man, our culture and empathy is doing so good, though. Oh no, I think this is the time. This is the time. Whew. I stared at the wet screen, one hand swishing the drenched tray, while the other held the water hose. Dirt and debris vanished through the holes, leaving the larger objects for examining. Nothing stood out at first. A few bone fragments I overlooked. I casually dropped them into the plastic cup and returned to my search. I picked up a rock with a cream tinge to it, admiring the color before I noticed smooth grooves on one side. Any curiosity I had plunged to the pit of my stomach when I realized what it was. Oh no. I found a flint in my tomassage. Calm down, Melissa. It's not like you're the first person to do this, or the last. It happened to Joan recently, and another student did the same thing. Still, it sucks. I turned it over and raised an eyebrow when I noticed lattice cracks on one side. It looked as if it shattered inwardly.
Did you find something particularly interesting in your tomassage, little flower? Worst person ever to find me now. I nearly dropped the specimen and tottered on the concrete block. Oh, Augustin. Yeah. I guess I did. Before I could plop it back onto the tray, Augustin extended his hand. I reluctantly surrendered the flint, dreading his reaction. Do you have any idea what you have found? Flint? His hand squeezed the stone briefly before displaying it, one finger tracing the fractures. Burnt flint, Melissa. He stole a glance at my cup, which had its layer 3D-RG clearly marked with a black marker. And we had yet to find one in this layer. Now one has turned up with lost context in the tomassage. Disappointment flickered on his face, and I turned off the faucet, anticipating a lecture. At least I was able to pinpoint which layer it came from? Yes, but we will never know how it was positioned. Can you explain what kind of layer you're working on? It's during a cooling period, and there are more clay sediments. It's roughly 120,000 years old, give or take. It's also during a time we have little information on. Everything we find is extremely important, and finding it in context will help us piece together what happened all those years ago. Right. Hendrik went over this with me when I didn't fill out the grid. Is there something significant about burnt flint? Gosh, I was at square one again with my amateur questions. No matter how much I learned, it felt like it was never enough. If flint is heated up to 450 degrees Celsius, its previous irradiation is erased. We can then date it to the last time it was used in a hearth or fire. However, it is heavily contaminated at this point, and being able to accurately date it will be nigh impossible. Well, we know the layer's age, so we could safely guess. Melissa, do you even understand the gravity of this find? The layer's age does not always equal the age of the object. Without its position recorded, we have no idea how it ended up in the layer. I'm severely disappointed in you. We assigned your square since Cherie students have always performed outstandingly, and I thought you would be no exception. There was a shuffle as Shoji entered the room from outside. He must have sensed the tense atmosphere since he timidly walked past us. We exchanged glances, and he seemed unsure of what to do. He stalled, but Augustin picked up on it. He barked something in French, and Shoji flinched. Like a puppy being dragged into the night rain, Shoji unwillingly exited the room. After he disappeared, Augustin tapped the metal rim of the screening platform to catch my attention. The lecture continued for a good 15 minutes, and I felt horrible for anyone who wanted to wet screen or merely pass through. Finally, it reached a merciful conclusion. Here, I'm returning this to you. You sure you don't want it? No, it is part of the wet screening finds now. It would have been crucial if it was found in its original position. He left, and I guiltily dropped the flint into the cup, feeling it was too profound to be mixed with bone shards. Oh, it would have been better if I had overlooked it and accidentally tossed it away. I chewed my lip bitterly as I tried to focus on the wet screen, but my concentration was broken. Sometimes my vision blurred from the pressure behind my eyes. Defeated, I managed to give the wet screening one more look before I turned the tray over and dumped the rest of the debris into the pit below. People walked out of the cave, and a simple glance at the clock indicated that it was noon. Maybe some lunch would calm me down. Tore at the Swiss cheese absent-mindedly, my fingers fumbling as I tried to contain my feelings. It was a battle, though. All my mistakes finally caught up to me, and my confidence melted like cheese in hot soup.
Mel?
Yeah?
Are you okay? You seem out of it.
Just tired. Why do you ask?
Because you're missing your soup.
Huh? I glanced down and realized I had a mountain of cheese fragments piled up beside my bowl. Whether it was the waste of food or the transparency of my emotions, my eyes watered again, threatening to spill out. Blinking, I held back a hiccuping sob and stood, nearly tripping over the bench in my haste. Mentally apologizing to the poor soul who had to clean up my mess, I retreated to my tent. Moments later, I curled up on the air mattress, my head buried against my knees. Warm tears rolled down my cheeks, and I occasionally wiped my face against my pants. I'm a failure of an archaeologist. I couldn't even distinguish flint from rubble. This was a mistake after all. I can't do this. I want to go home. Sherry must regret bringing me over. I heard footsteps approach the tent area, and I struggled to keep my crying to a minimum. My tent was closed, save for a small slit to allow some fresh air in. I sniffed but quietened down, not wanting to disturb the person who was probably grabbing a phone or some other possession. However, the steps halted in front of my tent, and I glanced up curiously, spotting a dark outline through the fabric. Joan, maybe? Melissa? You here? It is Joan. Joan's soft voice drifted through the tent. Yeah, I'm here. You okay? Talk it out? Sure. You can, do for me what I did for you that one time. I crawled over to the flap and unzipped it to give Joan access before scooting back. She entered and made herself comfortable on the other side of the mattress. On her knees, she folded her hands in her lap and looked at me sympathetically. Sad. Yes, a lot happened today and I'm upset. She tilted her head and gave a frustrated sigh. She pulled out her phone and opened a translator. After typing away at her phone, she hit the translate button and passed it over to me. Although online translators were helpful, I knew they wouldn't be perfect. Does something bad happen? I nodded upon reading the question and pressed the speaker button, deciding it would be faster to talk into the translator than type it all out. I made sure to keep my sentences short and easy to understand. I found burnt flint in my wet screen. Augustin was mad. This is what I heard earlier. Now I feel like a terrible archaeologist. You're not wrong. You just started. Are you new to archaeology? My mind fumbled over the slightly off translation. Did she mean I was correct in being terrible, or did it turn terrible into wrong? Her expression conveyed the latter, and I smiled. Please do not give up and be sad. When I see you dig, you're happy, and I want you to continue to enjoying. If you like what you do, you should never stop because of errors. You learn a lot. It was then I remembered how Joan failed her music theory class last month, and that she would retake the class in the fall. Ah, right. You're not giving up your music. I shouldn't give up either. When Joan heard music, her lip quivered. Realizing I brought up a sensitive topic, I reached out and patted her on the shoulder. I will not fail this time. I'll pass the music theory. The teacher is such a meanie. Well, but I will persevere. She jabbed a thumb against her chest, then poked at my sternum with a firm finger.
Promise me that you will pass your archaeology, and I will spend my music, and we will pursue our dreams together.
I stared at the phone screen for a few moments, letting it sink in. My face relaxed, and Joan watched my expression carefully.
You okay?
I placed the phone down, not needing to use it to express something this simple now. Yes, I'm okay. Merci beaucoup, Joan. She happily squealed, threw her arms around me, and I nearly staggered from the momentum. I patted her back, repeating my words. We remained in the embrace for a few minutes until she reluctantly parted from me. She smiled sweetly, then grabbed her phone.
You coming?
I feigned a yawn to show her that I wanted to remain in the tent a little longer, and she nodded understandingly. Once we exchanged goodbyes, she departed, leaving me alone with my thoughts again. However, I didn't feel as depressed as I did before she visited. Despite the language barrier, I was moved by Joan's concern and her cheering me up. Not everything needed words. I was still a little sore over the whole Thomasage incident, but it was too early for me to give up and declare archaeology the wrong path for me. That's right, Melissa. You can do it. You and Joan will succeed. Together. Morning already. Thanks to Joan, I feel better today. You can do it, Mel. Just treat it like a fresh start. If I quit after every hiccup, I wouldn't even be in dance competitions. This is no different. Yeah! We can do it. Now our music is gone again, though. Yay! At least the bell jingles are still working. Oh no.